Okay, good morning again. We're back with Genesis chapter 38. Judah and Tamar. At this time, Judah left home and moved to Adullam, where he visited a man named Hirah. There he met a Canaanite woman, the daughter of Shu, and he married her. She became pregnant and had a son, and Judah named the boy Then Judah's wife had another son, and she named him Anan. Anand. And when she had a third son, she named him Shelah. At the time Shelah's birth, they were living in Kazib. When the oldest son, grew up, Judah arranged his marriage to a young woman named Tamar. But was a wicked man in the Lord's sight, so the Lord took his life. Oh, okay. Then Judah said to Er's brother Onan, "You must marry Tamar, as your law requires of the brother of a man who had died. His first son from you will be your brother's heir." But Onan was not willing to have a child who would not be his own heir, so whenever he had intercourse with Tamar, he spilled the semen on the ground to keep her from having a baby. Oh, okay. Who would belong to his brother. But the Lord considered it a wicked thing for Onan to deny a child to his dead brother, so the Lord took Onan's life too. Oh, wow, okay. Then Judah told Tamar, his daughter-in-law, not to marry again at that time, but to return to her parents' home. She was to remain a widow until his youngest son, Shelah, was old enough to marry her. But Judah didn't really intend to do this because he was afraid Shelah would also die, like his two brothers. So Tamar went home to her parents. In the course of time, Judah's wife died. After the time of mourning was over, Judah and his friend Hirah and Adullamite went to Timnah to supervise the shearing of a sheep. Someone told Tamar that his father-in-law had left for the sheep shearing at Timnah. Tamar was aware that Shelah had grown up, but they had not called her to come and marry him. So she changed out of her widow's clothing and carried herself with a veil to disguise herself. Then she sat beside the road at the entrance to the village of Enam, which is the way to the Timnah. Judah noticed her as he went by and thought she was a prostitute since her face was veiled, so he stopped and propositioned her to sleep with him, not realizing that she was his own daughter-in-law. "How much will you pay me?" Tamar asked. "I'll send you a young goat from my flock," Judah promised. "What pledge will you give me so I can be sure you will send it?" she asked. "Well, what do you want?" he inquired. She replied, "I want your identification seal, your cord, and the walking stick you are carrying." So Judah gave these items to her. She then let him sleep with her, and she became pregnant. Afterwards, she went home, took off her veil, and put on her widow's clothing again, as usual. Judah asked his friend Hirah, the Dulamite, to take the young goat back to her and to pick up the pledges he had given her. But Hirah couldn't find her, so he asked the men who lived there, "Where can I find the prostitute who is sitting beside the road at the entrance to the village?" "We've never had a prostitute here," they replied. So Hirah returned to Judah and told him that he couldn't find her anywhere and that the men of the village had claimed they didn't have a prostitute there. Then let her keep the pledges, Judah explained. "We tried our best to send her the goat. We'd be laughing stock of the village if we went back again." About 3 months later, word reached Judah that Tamar, his daughter-in-law, was pregnant as a result of a prostitution. "Bring her out and burn her," Judah replied. But as they were taking her out to kill her, she sent this message to her father-in-law. "The man who owns this identification seal and walking stick is the father of my child. Do you recognize them?" Judah admitted that they were his and said, "She is more in the right than I am because I didn't keep my promise to her to marry my son Shelah." But Judah never slept with Tamar again. In due season, the time of Tamar's delivery arrived, and she had twin sons. As they were being born, one of them reached out his hand, and the midwife tied a scarlet thread around the wrist of the child who appeared first, saying, "This one came out first." But then he drew back his hand, and the other baby was actually first to be born. "What?" the midwife explained. "How did you break out first?" Ever after he was called Perez. Then the baby with the scarlet thread on his wrist was born, and his name was Zeta. Genesis chapter 39. Joseph in Potiphar's house. Now, when Joseph arrived in Egypt with the Ishmaelite traders, he was purchased by Potiphar, a member of the personal staff of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was the captain of the palace guard. The Lord was with Joseph and blessed him greatly as he served in the home of his Egyptian master. Potiphar noticed this and realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. So Joseph naturally became quite a favorite with him. Potiphar soon put Joseph in charge of his entire household and entrusted him with all his business dealings. From the day Joseph was put in charge, the Lord began to bless Potiphar for Joseph's sake. All his household affairs began to run smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. With Joseph there, he didn't have a worry in the world except to decide what he wanted to eat. Now Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man, and about this time Potiphar's wife began to desire him and invited him to sleep with her. But Joseph refused. "Look," he told her, "my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I ever do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God." She kept putting pressure on him day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. One day, however, no one else was around when he was doing his work inside the house. She came and grabbed him by the shirt, demanding, "Sleep with me." Joseph tore himself away, but as he did, his shirt came off. She was left holding it as he ran from the house. When she saw that she had his shirt and that he had fled, she began screaming. Soon all the men around the place came running. "My husband has brought this Hebrew slave here to insult us," she sobbed. "He tried to rape me, but I screamed. When he heard my loud cries, he ran and left his shirt behind with me." She kept the shirt with her, and when her husband came home that night, she told him her story. "That Hebrew slave you've had around here tried to make a fool of me," she said. I was saved only by my screams. He ran out, leaving his shirt behind." Joseph put in prison. After hearing his wife's story, Potiphar was furious. He took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held. But the Lord was with Joseph there too, and he granted Joseph favor with the chief jailer. Before long, the jailer put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners and over everything that happened in the prison. The chief jailer had no more worries after that, because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him, making everything run smoothly and successfully. Okay, and with that, I'll be back later with chapter 40.